Moving on, our next speaker does not need much introduction. Speaking on the topic, prospering in the digital age, we invite Mr. Vivek Bhargava, co-founder Profitwheel Data Technologies Private Limited. He was the former head of Dentsu Performance Group. Vivek Bhargava is a digital entrepreneur and one of the most respected digital evangelists in the country. Vivek, till recently used to head all the digital performance agencies of Dentsu in India. He was responsible for the growth and expansion of the Dentsu Performance Group through additional acquisitions in the performance space. He now heads the leading strategic partnership of Dentsu and Netcore by the name Profitwheel. A frontrunner in the digital revolution in India, Vivek believes digital is much more than a mere marketing medium, a catalyst and a multiplier across every aspect of the business. Prior to this, Vivek was the CEO at iProspect India. Vivek began his entrepreneurial journey in 1997 when he founded Communicate 2. The company joined hands with iProspect India, a digital marketing agency from Dentsu International in 2012 and led the new entity, iProspect Communicate 2, as founder and managing director. The company was rebranded as iProspect India at the end of 2015 with Vivek as CEO until 2016, after which he assumed the position of head of Dentsu Performance Group. Recently, Dentsu launched a Dentsu Venture Fund. Vivek is one of the three partners running it. Apart from this, he is on the board of IAMAI and now the chair of the IAMAI Startup Committee. Career highlights. Angel investor with investments in 20 plus companies in India and globally. Donned the role of an investor in the reality television show The Vault to fund innovative startups. TEDx speaker where he has delivered two talks, How Money Can Buy Happiness and Happiness is a Muscle, and is penning down a book, Happiness is a Muscle. Regular speaker at global events like AdTech, SES, SMX, ICOM, and the Apex Digital Conferences in India, and given guest lectures at IITs, IIMs, and Harvard. Co-chair at SEMPO APAC and on the advisory board of industry bodies like AdTech, DMAI, DMTI, and on the board of IAMI and member of Young Presidents Organization and Entrepreneurs Organization, Mumbai. Awarded for his invaluable contribution to the digital marketing fraternity on several occasions, most notably Marketer of the Year, and named one of the top 50 digital icons of India. Co-owner of the Goa Challengers in the Ultimate Table Tennis League, the country's first ever professional table tennis league. Vivek is an accomplished national level table tennis player and has won multiple laurels in the world of sports worldwide, including 2 silver medals in the 39 plus nationals in 2018 and multiple gold medal in the Maharashtra State Championships. He is also an avid chess player and an amateur paragliding pilot, a complete travel bluff, and a lover of new experiences. Vivek has traveled to more than 55 countries in the world on various projects and tournaments.
So over the next 20 minutes, we're going to talk about prospering in the digital age. So basically what has happened in the last multiple years is that it's no longer about digital marketing. What's happening is that digital is the age we're living in. It plays a role of a catalyst or a multiplier across every single function in enterprise, whether it's customer acquisition, whether it's brand building, whether it's understanding consumer trends, whether it's hiring talent, whether it's cross-selling, upselling to existing customers. Everything that an organization does, digital plays a role of a catalyst or multiplier across that entire function. So the first thing people have to realize is that it's not about digital marketing anymore. What I'm trying to do is that I'm going to summarize 20 years of my experience in digital into 10 to 15 slides for the next 15-20 minutes. So I think the biggest challenge that a lot of organizations face is that they treat digital like how they've treated maybe building a factory or building a market plan for a physical product. The challenge is that digital is about taking a step in the right direction and then start walking. When you're walking in a mist or a fog, the challenge is that you only get visibility of 100 meters. You have to walk that 100 meters in the right direction, and then you get more visibility. Then what will happen is you may come across an incline, so you reserve your energy. You may come across a bumpy road, you have to be careful. You may come across a chasm where you may have to build a bridge. But till the time you start walking in the right direction, you will not be actually getting visibility of what needs to be done. The other problem with the blueprint approach is that you create this entire blueprint. And obviously, this blueprint has a lot of components. And what if one of the component changes? What if a technology company stops providing you something like Apple came out with IDFA, and a lot of data that you would get earlier is no longer available to you? So if you built your entire approach with that blueprint and one component goes missing, you have to almost start from scratch. But if you're walking in the right direction, then you know, okay, this is the bumpy road you got. Now you can do something about it and move forward. The biggest disruptions that happen, they happen because people are not able to estimate exponential technologies. So about approximately 4 or 5 years ago, I had gone for the singularity course in the NASA campus. So you stay where the astronauts stay. And one thing that I understood was that exponential technologies are going to disrupt a lot of industries. But the way to look at it is not what is going to happen to the industry in the future, but what's happened to the industry in the past. Like 3D printing got invented 35 years ago. And if something is growing quarter on quarter and it's only 2% of the market today, but then what happens is in the next less than 2 years, the entire industry will be taken over by that exponential technology. So you can predict the future if you look at the growth rate of these technologies over the last few years, rather than looking at what the market size of the technology today is. I think there are a lot of exponential technologies, whether it's blockchain, whether it's 3D printing, whether it's drones, and I'll cover some examples of this as we move forward. I think basically I've always wondered when people send me this WhatsApp, this company making 100 crore loss valued at 1,000 crores, this company making 500 crore loss valued at 5,000 crores. So I think the biggest challenge is, right, that today when you set up a factory or you set up an oil refinery, you may put that 50,000 crores cost as a cost of capital, right? And it's a fixed asset. So you amortize it over a 20, 30, 50-year period. The challenge is that accounting systems have not changed for 200 years. So if today private equity or venture capital is investing in digital businesses, these are the smartest guys in the world, because hopefully the industries that pay the most are the one that attract the smartest capital. So why do you think they're investing in digital companies are making losses? I don't think one should look at those losses in the same respect. So let me give you an example. If you Amazon, when it started off 20, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, probably the conversion rate on the app, on the website would have been 2%. Today, an Amazon Prime customer converts 90%. It means you just go to the Amazon website or an app as a Prime customer to buy things. You don't even go there to explore things. So if that is the case, that journey from 2% to 90% plus has invested, they have to invest in brand building, in deliveries, and all these costs. Unfortunately, the conventional accounting system puts it as expense. But these are actually not expense, right? Because this 2% benefits you not only this year, but next year and next year after that. So these are also expenses which should have been amortized and they should be treated as capital expenses. But now what we're doing is we're evaluating digital businesses with conventional accounting system that are 20, 30, 50, 100 years old. So you're never going to get the right answer for a digital business if you extrapolate the conventional accounting systems and apply them to the digital world. So my recommendation is that look at the business. Is it amortized? Is it that expense that you're doing? Is it a capital expense? Not from an accounting standpoint of view, but from a business model standpoint of view. So I think the other thing is we've heard the saying, data is a new oil. But when I talk to a lot of FMCG companies, they actually don't even have a strategy of data collection, let alone using that to make data-driven decisions. So every single product sold must have a QR code. In fact, I invested in a company which basically puts QR codes onto packaging. And for brands like Bisleri, we even have as much as 30% scan rate. That means you have 10 million customers, you're selling to them every month. You can collect 10 million customers' data in the next 3 to 4 years by having contests, having prizes, because that data, it is going to be useful to you. Like what has happened in the cookieless world in the last few years. Imagine if you had every single customer's data with you. When COVID happened, your sales would have not gone down. But I know companies where the sales went from 100 crores to zero because they had no way to get in touch with their customers. So the customer had demand, but there was no way they could order it. So I think the biggest strategy that a lot of companies must have is not to what to do with the data, but at least have a very, very clear plan how you're going to collect data of every customer that you have. So, I was talking to somebody where only 5% of his business was coming from digital. So obviously his mind share was going towards 95% of his business. I asked him a simple question. What are the multiple that you get in your existing business? And what are the multiple digital businesses are getting from their business? So he said, you know what? Digital businesses are crazy. You get a multiple of 20, 30, 40. I get a multiple of 5. So I said, okay. So that means today that 5 and the difference is almost 20. That means that business is significantly valuable from a valuation point of view. What do you think is going to happen to this 5 in the next 5 years? You say it can easily become 30% of my business. So I said that very simple, right? If it's going to be 25% of your business, but the value of that business is going to be more than 75% of your business, then should you not be investing at least 25% of that value in digital from today onwards? And the thing is, he could then transform his business because he suddenly realized it's not 5% of his business, it's 30% of his value today, and it's going to be 50, 100% of his value tomorrow. So the way to look at digital is it's like almost like taking a train to a destination. Just because the train makes an unscheduled stop somewhere, you don't get out of the train, you stay on the train. Digital is going to be big and it's going to get bigger. Don't look at it from this point of view that today your business from digital is only 2% or 5%. It has the potential to become 30% of business, but that 30% will be significantly more valuable than the remaining 70% of your business. I think the other mistake that I feel a lot of companies make is that they come to me, what, Vivek, I need so many million followers because my competition has so many followers. I want my video to go viral so that I can get almost like a billion views. And ask them a simple question. Okay, let's say you get a billion views, right? You do get a billion views. And then what? In the board meeting, somebody's going to ask you, okay, you got a billion views and you have 50 million Facebook followers, but what did it do to your top line? What did it do to your bottom line? The biggest challenge is that nobody has an answer for that so what question because we set digital goals. The way digital has to be used is that it's a catalyst and a multiplier for everything you do as a company. Because that's the way to look at digital. What happens is set business goals. Let's say your business goal was very simple, right? Your goal was that I'm going to increase my revenues from existing customers by 30%. I'm going to use first party data more effectively. I'm going to calculate the customer lifetime value. I'm going to use them, target them using tools like my company Profitwheel. And because of that, I'm going to increase my business from existing customers. And what if that business objective is met? What does it do to your bottom line? What does it do to your top line? Is there anybody in the board who's going to ask you that, listen, you've increased your profits, you've increased your revenues, and so what? Because the fact of the matter is, if you align your digital endeavors towards a business goal and business outcome, nobody's going to ever ask you, so what question. So I think this is one other learning that I've seen over the last 8, 10 years of working with businesses, that they make the mistake of setting up digital goals. Digital goals don't make sense. Digital is a multiplier for everything you do. Please set business goals if you want your digital to work for you. If you go back in time, there was a time probably in the 80s or 70s where Windows and Intel controlled 110% of the industry profit. What actually it meant was the rest of the companies in software and hardware put together were losing 10%. So today what happens is, if you take a company like Apple, the reason why Apple is a $1 trillion plus company, because they have the best customers. You have 20% of customers who give you most of their profits. How do you treat them special? What are the things you do for them? Do you even calculate their lifetime value? So I think the biggest challenge is that audience intelligence, people don't invest in. So if you have first party data of your best customers, use tools, whether it's Profitwheel and so many other tools that allow you to understand what are the interests those customers have. How do you target those customers more effectively? How do you make sure your customer acquisition is from people who fall into the 20% bracket of your customers who give you most of the profits? If you don't do that, then what happens is customer acquisition will never be profitable for you. So my philosophy is very simple, that I think along with the data collection of first party data, please understand who are your most profitable customers. If you can keep them with you and retain them forever, imagine the amount of value they deliver to your company. The very fact is you listening to this talk is good, first step in the right direction. I think digital fitness of the organization is very critical, because what happens is that a lot of time what happens is that the junior most guy or the intern or people who is a younger person in the company is given this mandate of digital. Digital is a strategic endeavor. I think right from the CEO to the senior management of the company, including the board, must understand digital. If you take a lot of boards in India, I've had the fortune of being in some boards. I've rarely found anybody in the board who's less than 50 years old. If your entire senior management, entire senior board, none of them are Gen Z, it would be sad, because understanding concepts of digital and components of digital is going to be very, very difficult for them. And then what's going to happen is that they will go with the scarcity mindset to the market. Digital is about abundance mindset. Just because I take something from you doesn't mean that you have less of it. In digital, replicating things is easier, distributing things is even easier. So because of that, I think everybody has to understand the digital mindset. And for that, learning components of digital and digital fitness is probably the most important investment you can make for your entire team, including senior management. So if you just look back in time, digital was web 1.0. So what happened was that if you look back at movies, the earliest movies were created, they were very much theater-like, because that's all the people knew. So they would actually have a set where everybody was there on the set. They would not zoom into individuals, and they were almost recording a theater play. So Web 1.0 was just putting magazines on the internet. Then Web 2.0 came, the interaction started. And basically what happened was social media came up and user-generated content came up, and companies like Twitter and Facebook became large companies. But now what's happening is Web 3.0 is coming in. So Web 3.0, the biggest difference is that there may be platforms where there may not be any company. So imagine there is no company, like Bitcoin is not a company, but still the market cap of the platform, because now the users become and own, and the people who are part of the community in a way own that platform. The users own their own data, while in most of the other Web 2.0 platforms, the users are the data. So imagine if Uber was there, and what if all the drivers of Uber sort of owned Uber? Can you imagine the experience you would have in that company? How much wealth they would all end up creating, what kind of service they would all give, and all of them would collaborate with each other to make sure that the platform, the valuation of the company keeps on increasing. So Web 3.0 is an insane concept, and it's going to be very, very exciting. And I think companies need to prepare for it, because the thing is, if you don't understand what a sort of a metaverse is, or you don't understand what blockchain is, or you don't understand exponential technologies, your company will get disrupted sooner than later. It's important that we start reading up on this and improving the digital fitness of every single person who works in any kind of a company. The other thing, the challenge that is happening is that, especially the FMCG sector and a lot of companies, they've never had customer data. So, you would have your own brand store because you want to collect some data, and then you would extrapolate the behavior of rest of your customers with that data. That's not how digital works. Digital is a census medium. You need to collect data from every single customer you have. Then you have to create cohorts of your best customers, your mid-value customers, your low-value customers, and see if you create content, how do you create content for your best customers? If you create a creative strategy, how do you make sure that your creative strategy is in line with your best customers? The world is going to move to a cookieless world. First party data is going to be the most important thing that will differentiate and keep your company relevant. And calculating your customer lifetime value will drive your customer acquisition strategy. If you don't align your customer acquisition strategy with customer lifetime value, then you're going to be in trouble. And the direct to consumer companies are doing that. And until you follow and join the bandwagon, you're going to face challenges. So when I'm into Singularity University, I think exponential technologies is one thing that not only completely transformed the way I think about digital, I realized that in the early days, what would happen is you would create something like a steam engine and it would affect the transportation industry. Exponential technologies actually impact a lot of industries, and I can give you a lot of examples and probably just share one of them. So let's take an example of exponential technologies. So there was a port being built in Germany. The port was going to get completed by 2030. And then what happened was that they realized that drones today can carry a certain X amount of weight and they last from battery duration point of view for a certain number of minutes. Now, in every 9 months, the capacity of the drone, both in terms of battery as well as the capacity to sort of carry the weight, is doubling. So let's say you can carry only 500 kilos today. The drone can do that for 20 minutes. Now, in 9 months, it's going to become 1 ton. Then in 9 months, it's going to become 2 tons, then 4, then 8, then 16, then 32. So just imagine if the largest containers are 100 tons, in 6 to 8 years, each of these drones will be able to last for a few hours and carry X amount of tons, which is the biggest containers on a ship. Then why do you need a port? Basically, the drones could pick up the containers and then straight away load them into a truck. So you would have one port, the existing port, which will cover very, very unique containers which don't fit the norm. The rest of the things could be done by drones. So they actually shelved the project of building a port. But just imagine what it does to the infrastructure industry. Can you basically look back and predict all the different industries that will get disrupted with these exponential technologies? And that's how you look at digital. I think blockchain, Bitcoin, these are all the Web 3.0 sort of tokens that are going to sort of weave the fabric of 3.0 and understanding the basics of blockchain, Bitcoin, NFT, etc. Because they're not going to sort of impact one industry, as we discussed drones and ports. They're going to multiple industries. So just basics of blockchain. Digital has this problem called a double spend problem. Let's say if I have this remote in my hand and I give it to you. Now the problem is that you have it and I don't have it, and it's measured and it's tangible. But what if I give you a photograph of my phone? Then you have the photograph, I have the photograph, and there is no way for us to know that I don't have the photograph anymore. I still may have the photograph. So blockchain allows you to solve this double spend problem, and so does NFT, and you can build currencies on it, you can build mutual funds on it, you can build real estate on it, you can build so many advertising technologies on it. Everything will change in the Web 3.0 world, and blockchain is a very, very important building block in it. It's almost like a Lego piece. 90% of software anywhere in the world is open source. I think Web 3.0, you solve one problem once, and then everybody will have access to it, and they can just improve upon it. You don't have to solve that same problem again. Here, in this case, in classical industries, Facebook, Google, and everybody has the same problem solved, and then new companies still have to solve it. So the way I look at it is no longer about digital marketing, digital communication. Digital is the age we're living in. And until and unless we understand that every single aspect of the business that we do is going to get impacted by it and prepare for it, then we will find it difficult to prosper in the digital age. Hopefully, this will set your motion in the right direction. Please take a compass to the world of digital and start walking in that right direction. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you put our hands together and thank you so much, Chief, for the great insights.